You are watching Travel World Online.
Namaskar, Sat Shri Akal, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Travel World. The travel and tourism world is moving from crisis management to recovery mode. Most of the countries have started opening up. Today we have Kumar Pushkar with us. He is the Managing Director, Karnataka Tourism Development Corporation, known as KSTTDC. Mr. Pushkar, how this unlock is working for Karnataka tourism?
The current situation is promising. People want to travel to a place which is close to nature and also a place where they can have the social distancing. So from that angle, it started well for jungle lodges, and we also saw an increase in the occupancies in properties like Madikeri and Srirangapatna. Things started improving from the last week of July. August has been pretty well, especially for some of the properties from the KSTDC side. What I would like to say is that we could see very good occupancy in places like Jog Falls, Madikeri, Srirangapatna, and now from the last week of August, we also opened up Nandi Hills. So there also we are having a very good traction.
What is general percentage of booking?
See, percentage of booking in places like Jog Falls and Nandi Hills is more than 70%.
ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਹੋਟਲ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਟਿਵਸ ਐਂਡ ਕੰਪਨੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਆਫਿਸ ਵੇਅਰ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸ਼ੋਭਾ ਜੀ what's your take on today's ground reality about tourism?
So yeah, I mean, things are pretty bad. I will not mince my words. So we, unfortunately, as a country, we've kind of stressed too much on the numbers from incoming destinations, the inbound. We've been focusing a lot on the inbound. So we don't have a strategy for the domestic market. And this is a community of people, or this is a market base of several millions who are going abroad, right? We have no strategy for them. So suddenly there is this clamor, and we are all clamoring to see how we can convert a very aspirational Indian traveler to travel within his own country. मुझे एक ओडिया का वो कहावत याद आता है कि देश गेला विदेश गेला सिखले किते बानी वाटर जबीन गोला खटिया तोला पानी खटियाट के नीचे पानी था. We didn't even think about it, but we were constantly looking at numbers from abroad, and I think that is a major strategic mistake that we did. I mean, as a ministry, even as tour operators. And because now a lot of tour operators are actually trying to get into the domestic business. The one thing that you hear is they're a very demanding market. It's very difficult to deal with Indians. Hello, it might be a demanding market, but it is our market, right? We are all Indian travelers. It is also, remember, it's an evolving market. This is the space where you can, at this point in time, you can float as many ideas and ideals as possible. आप देखिए ना social media पे work from home, work from mountains, work from here. I mean, these are ideas that are being floated, and the minute they said small weddings, a lot of these 30-40 room hotels started to get attention. So we are actually sitting on a gold mine. And I think that is where our as a forward strategy, we should be looking at ourselves first, at the domestic market, getting hotels to understand, there is a domestic market, which is an all-year market, 52 weekends at least, right? And you have to, and make a good hotel, not a hotel for an inbound market or a domestic market. You make a good hotel. And what is that good hotel? That will address world travelers is, I think, what we should be looking at.
Brilliant. Geeta?
So, as Shobhaji said, exactly. So this is the time. COVID has given us a time to organize ourselves. And this is the best time when we can, she said, so a lot of packages, like we started working from home to organize this staycation packages for domestic market has come. Though I was always very good in domestic as well as inbound market. So domestic was equally my strength. And this is the first time when I have realized that we can work from home. So much of work we can do from the home, sitting at home, and the kind of new packages we have come up for various hotels, like virtual spa packages. I don't know how many of us are aware, but there are agents with whom we have started a virtual spa packages. You're sitting at home and they can give you the guided meditation and all. So these are the new things which we are learning with the new era, like with the COVID things. And absolutely, as Shobha ma'am correctly said, that yes, it's an evolving market, and we were not looking after for our in-house things, and now this is the best time to take care of all these things and check the things like how we can grow within ourselves.
True. Very good. Shruti?
Yes, right. Past few years, I'd started noticing Indians have been traveling abroad a lot. They are very well aware. They are very well, I would say, educated. They expect a certain amount of things. The properties that we used to promote for inbound only, now the domestic had come up, reached up to that level that they understood what that property was all about, how to experience the stay, and how to cherish it, how to actually appreciate it. So they were turning around to that part. And this time is a perfect time when they can't travel abroad. They have the choice of traveling within India, and the properties which are these offbeat experiential, they are ready to experience that. They're ready to absorb the whole thing. So it's a perfect time for us. The block hotels are actually going out now. The trend is going to change a lot. And those things that we used to project in inbound, the experiences, the maybe the day visits, the excursions, and all those things that we used to do earlier for inbound is now valid for Indian domestic market who loves that. Things have grown, things have gone out of their box kind of thing, and we can cash out on that. And that is what we are planning to do again also. The online is going to be a biggest challenge for us, because they are still a big fight. Domestic is aware of where to find rates and how to do things, but then yes, the guidance is something that only we can give them, and they are going to take it. It is going to work out well. That is the best part of the changes that are going to happen. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. KP Singh?
So, we become more creative. The beauty of hotels is that they get influenced by various segments. It's not just one segment that exists. So inbound is one segment. You have corporates, you have weddings, you have a domestic leisure traveler. There are these architectural groups that come in. Within the country itself, you have a lot of it that is happening. Small thing like if you've got an American Express card, you're able to filter your hotel through that card, offer opportunities through that card to the domestic traveler. So there are a lot of opportunities which are now going to evolve, which we obviously feel that is going to be a challenge. And tourism, of course, is not going to die. It's a period that we are going through. It's a phase that we are going through. It's not just India, it's a global, situation that exists. Tourism ahead, I think it's going to blossom. It's going to go way ahead with what it has just now. The beauty is that with this pandemic, the domestic traveler would probably realize the beauty that the country has to offer today. Because they'll be taking these short drives, they'll be going to these places which offer experiences. I see a great change happening, which should happen very soon, as it's already taking place. People are going across to places where they experience this. Today we get calls, where can we go, where can we take the family, what can we offer to them, right? They never asked all this before. So I think tourism is going to blossom in the future. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you. Jitendra ji.
Sir, I've got a little different view about it, right? Slightly different view. For me, domestic tourism is already in an evolved zone. It's not evolving, it's already there, right? For that matter, even the outbound which is going out of India, who are those people? They're domestic people only, right? It's only that direction was outbound, right? People are spending money. And whether it is purely actually, clear divide, there were few hotels which were already into domestic market, purely into domestic market. And as KPG said, by default, unfortunately, we had, major chunk coming from the inbound market. So we have got that biometrically, adaptation of our minds into the inbound segment. For me, the domestic has been there, it is there, it will always be there, but it is only about, we'll have to think about the source market. Any hotel which falls within a radius of 250 kilometers of the source market will never die. That hotel will forever see that business coming to it, right? It depends upon pricing. If you're a great experiential hotel, you might drive a great price. If you just want to give, a bed and breakfast, you just want to be a routine hotel and let them experience the other sightseeing places, excursions around you, then you'll have drive a lesser price. Simultaneously, sir, there is one particular segment which will, shoot back to the ultimate or the optimization of the capacities very soon, which is wildlife. You mark my words, the safaris for Central India are opening tomorrow, right? I can give you figures by tomorrow evening, how many safaris I have booked actually for my clients and what bookings we are holding for the wildlifers. Wildlifers within India are going to fill the wildlife spaces. Number 3 is the soft adventure. People are going to go for soft adventures. The concepts of vacations or working out of remote locations, the volume going to that is very minuscule. I will not consider that as a volume at all, right? It is challenging times for the hotels who are not in the zones of the source market. They'll have to think out of the box. They'll have to do something exceptional to drive clients to them, basically, right? So I feel that the inbound operators and the hotels which were purely into inbound and are out of that radius of 250 kilometers from the source market are going to have a very, very difficult time till October 21.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to add something where evolving markets are concerned. We are talking about the well-known tourism destinations when we are looking at Indian travelers who've been traveling to all these places. I think Jitendra also has some of the offbeat places. KP Singh ji has a lot of them. Digvijay, all of us have some of these offbeat places which we market. Rare has a lot of offbeat places. Some of these places are not, are not easily Googleable as well. Now, that is where I'm looking for the evolution of the Indian traveler with concepts such as sustainability, participative tourism, where they can actually go and get their hands dirty, staying in a private villa on their own, doing their own, like a private. I'm going to start marketing a private camping experience in Chardikla. Just 2 people and you can camp yourself there. I mean that kind of evolution. Also willing to pay a price for that kind of experience. So if I want to do a private camping in, say, in Kruger National Park or in Africa, anywhere in Africa, the Indian traveler pays a lot of money. I know of camps and private, moving camps, glam camps that are priced at over $2,000 a night. And there are Indians who go. I meant evolution in terms of what we have in India and paying the price for it. Instead of haggling and saying, you're saying it is sustainability, and I'm a big crusader for sustainable hotels, people who look at tourism and hospitality as something that impacts the community, the host community, and the destination positively. There's no point in promoting all these offbeat, lovely little places if you are going to inundate them with tourists and then provide another avenue for over tourism. So what I mean by evolving Indian market is evolving themselves to pay a price for what the beauty and the richness that we have in India. That is the kind of evolution we are talking about. And there are a huge number of, within the community of 70 hotel representatives we are talking about, I think there's a huge number of hotels in the off the beaten track areas.
So do you think India is a price sensitive market?
Sorry.
Not really.
KP.
Not really. You have price segmentation in every every sphere of the hotels. So if you have hotels, you've got hotels that sell at what, $1,000 a night also here in India, right up to about 2,000 rupees. So you tend to see a lot of people shift to having to sell luxury rather than budget. Now, budget is somewhere where people travel into, but price sensitive, as what you said, you can't draw a line anywhere. So if you offer a price of $1,000, the guy said, "Can you offer me $750?" Now he's just bargaining on that. He has the capacity to pay that $1,000. It's not that he cannot pay $1,000. So for the agents, they try to see where their margins can grow. For a traveler, he says where he can get that benefit. And I don't think it's a price sensitive market as such. It's just that it's just in the mind of people how you want to accept it.
Thank you, KP Singh ji. Thank you, all panelists.
Today, the need of the hour is to win travelers' confidence. $1,000,000 question is how to gain that confidence and what all we can do to make traveling safer.
Trek Secure. What is this? And why we need this? Across the globe, the spread of COVID-19 continues to cause disease, death and disruption. According to World Health Organization, strengthening surveillance and contact tracing in particular will help national and local authorities to rapidly adapt to evolving outbreaks. That's where we come in. Trek Secure is an intelligent contagion and crisis response platform. Designed for airlines, cruise ships, hotels and governments. Airlines are desperate to build confidence among passengers and put them in the planes that are slowly returning to the skies. Hotel industry is equally desperate to get it going, but how to win confidence of the customer is the $1,000,000 question. Tour operators and travel agents are waiting for things to move in the positive direction. Requesting the government to take decision, but the situation is getting worse. The reason is more than 99% of the time, a contagion is not reported until after a journey has ended. If you came in contact of someone who was infected, there is no way you will know you came in contact with the virus, and you are living a normal life unless and until you get some signs of infection that takes 7 to 14 days in some cases.
We began this work back in January. Here in the United States, we recognized that COVID was going to be a big problem, especially here with the numerous silos. There's no clear data structure for reporting of things for the central government. So we actually built an application for the CDC back in February. And then our eyes shifted towards travel as we saw the cruise lines being heavily impacted, airlines, hotels, and so on. And the whole travel vertical was suffering so much. There's a lot of anxiety for people to travel. They don't feel safe. So we looked at the problem and we tried to understand where the weaknesses were. And what we understood by doing quite a bit of research was that the weakness came from people who are traveling not being made aware that they were exposed to a contagion. And we looked at the actual processes that are in place today and how this is managed. And it's largely a manual task. A health authority, regardless of the country, a health authority will usually report to an airline or a cruise line or a hotel that someone has been infected. And so what we'll show you today is the airline example. It's the same logic that applies to cruise lines and hotels. So what we did is we developed a process with Dr. Chris Belland, who was the chief medical officer for American Airlines. He's one of the top flight surgeons in the world. He's in the working group with CAPSCO, which is the international group working on return to flight policies. A process that took him 2 years to design at American Airlines, and we've incorporated that into our platform. So what we're doing is it goes way beyond just notifying passengers and crews. It actually goes into some of the medical practices, what's best for people, and also the internal processes that need to occur in a business when a contagion is reported. What I'd like to do is show you the airline example, because this is actually the most complex process. The same logic would apply to hotels and cruise lines and restaurants, but in a less complex way. So what we've done is very, very sophisticated. And what you see on the screen here, all the way to the left, is a passenger who has been diagnosed with COVID, for example. This is, again, this information is what would normally arrive at an airline anyway. And then the next column underneath the envelope is the email that would come in from a health authority. In this case, it's CDC, I believe. What we've done is we've used artificial intelligence to open the email, extract all of the relevant information, and then populate it. So what you're looking at right now is the dashboard that an airline employee would see when they execute this process. The way that it's done today, the email will come in from the health authority. The airline employee has to manually call up the manifest, the flight manifest for that flight from another system, and then manually look up the seat map, determine which passengers are affected by this, and it varies by disease. So for example, for COVID, we're looking at those passengers that are sitting directly in front of us, 2 seats to the side, and the row behind us. For something like bacterial meningitis, we would notify everybody on the plane. So what we've done is we've built in every serious communicable disease, and our platform will behave differently based on the disease that's reported. And so what we've done is we've built a permanent system so that as new diseases emerge, those characteristics of the disease can be loaded into the system right away. And we're using, all the information that we're using comes from the World Health Organization. So we take that information from WHO, and these are things like what's the incubation period, the quarantine period, and so on. And that's built into the platform so that it responds the right way depending on the disease. I hope this makes sense. So on this dashboard, what we've done is taken it a step further to where we've tried to minimize as much work as possible. And so we've taken this process, which normally takes an airline between 7 to 10 days to fully execute, down to about 2 or 3 seconds. So the benefit here is that those passengers, the flight crews, employees, workers, travelers are notified almost instantly that they've been exposed to some type of a disease. And this gives them that time to seek the medical attention, to self-quarantine, things like that. And these steps go a long way in mitigating contagion spreads. This is an example on the crew notification side, manager for aviation medicine at ICAO. Edgar, if you can go to the last one on the notifications. This is an example on the hotel side. So if they've had a guest that flew on a plane or stayed at the hotel, that was diagnosed after their trip. This will send an alert to the hotel, letting them know that maybe their cleaning crews should take extra precautions when cleaning the room, or let the hotel manager know that the other guests need to be informed about this, that we're staying there at that date. So all of this is completely automated. There's no extra work that needs to be done. There's no software that needs to be downloaded or hardware that needs to be purchased. This is all web-based application, very quick to install, very easy to use. And we also operate in 26 languages. So
all of this is, from what I figured, there's a lot of work that's gone into it. So congratulations, and I know how tedious this must have been. My question is that this is all going to happen post you detecting somebody with the contagion. If you figure out that there is a contagious situation, and then the ball will start rolling. Before, because on a cruise line, you'd appreciate that although we are social distancing and all of that, but there are still a fair amount of people together in a contained environment. The idea is to try and protect any this thing from happening before, and get that passenger off if there is any, let's say, indication of him carrying the virus.
Right. Okay. This is a fantastic question. Thank you very much for that. We've been talking extensively with CLIA. We're dealing with Joost van Rey, who is the Director of Partnerships for CLIA in Holland. With the cruise lines, there are a couple of interesting solutions. We cannot prevent anything from happening on board. The cruise lines are using a software called SeaCare, I believe it is. And this is the healthcare solution for incidents that happen on the ship. There are some interesting things that we can do. Some of the cruise lines have incorporated technology like magic wristbands, for example. So it's Carnival, I think, that's done it. They have what's called the Ocean Medallion. And this is an RFID medallion that passengers are given. MSC Cruises has also come out with this now. It's called MSC for Me, and it's a wristband with an RFID. This RFID opens your cabin door, allows you to purchase things, and so on. It's the same technology being used by Disney, who we're also talking with. The person that invented this is a gentleman named John Paget, and he works for Carnival. They invented the technology for Disney, and now they've incorporated it at Carnival and MSC. For cruise lines that have this type of a system, we can do some very, very amazing things. We can say, for example, if a contagion is reported, again, after a voyage, we can look at that wristband and identify where that passenger was. So some passengers, as you know, don't go to the casino. Some passengers don't go to the bar. Maybe they just go to a certain part of the ship or whatever they're doing. We can take a look back in time with the system that's tracking all of those RFID wristbands, and we can draw a circle. Our system can draw a circle of, say, 12 feet around that passenger and identify only those passengers that would be at risk. I hope that makes sense. So for the things that we can do on board, there's really very little. On board a ship, you're in a contained environment. This is handled by the ship's doctor. Where we come in is really the part where people are most vulnerable, and that's after the voyage has ended. Because in speaking with CLIA and a number of cruise lines, what we've discovered is a lot of times a report of a contagion won't come in, actually 90% of the time, it won't come in until the end of the voyage. So we asked CLIA, what happens when you have 5,000 passengers on a ship? How do you notify them? And prior to the COVID outbreak, the cruise lines were publishing something on their own website The problem is that on a cruise ship, you may have people from 100 different countries, that are taking this cruise, and they're not going to go back to the website after they finish their holiday. I've never done it. So they're not getting that information. And this is what causes the spread of disease. So where we come in is actually when that report, let's say, for example, you've had a successful cruise, nothing has happened on the cruise, but a few days later, somebody's not feeling well, they've been diagnosed. That's where we come in and we can help notify those passengers right away that we're on board, and also the crews that are working on those cruise ships. I hope that answers your question. As new diseases emerge, this is going to be particularly important. When we think about the travel industry and how hard it's been impacted, it's unbelievable. The numbers are just absolutely unbelievable. Aviation, for example, has lost $84 billion this year. The cruise lines are struggling. Everybody's struggling, the hotels, the restaurants. So we've built in the ability to track any type of contagious disease, but for right now, we'll talk about COVID, as those flares are occurring in the world. So the advantage that this gives the cruise lines and the airlines is that they can identify these areas where maybe it's a more severe outbreak than others, and they can prepare those flight crews ahead of time. So, for example, if there was a severe outbreak in Manila, we can let those flight crews know as they're flying into Manila to take extra precautions, maybe above and beyond what they're already doing. And it gives us a good visibility of what's happening. This is also the same map that we're providing to the global health agencies. And that data is coupled with the data that's generated by TrekSecure. So the travel data plus the global data will give these world health agencies, all they have to have is access to the internet. Our software is free to the health agencies, and they'll be able to see their own citizens, how many of them have come in, or how many are overseas at risk, along with the flares within their own country. The statement by Dr. Belland, who's one of the top contagion doctors, flight surgeons in the world, he said that had TrekSecure been in place 6 months before the COVID outbreak, it would have mitigated the global pandemic. Because what's the way that this spreads is not the person getting sick on the ship or the plane. It's because they don't know. They don't know that they have an illness. They're not showing any signs of illness. It's when they get home and they start having that fever, they go to the doctor. Then you have 5,000 people on a ship that have no idea that this person in Holland or Brazil or wherever has been around them with a disease. And so they continue walking around and spreading it because they haven't been told. They haven't been told you sat next to somebody with tuberculosis or Legionnaires or whatever the case may be. So the real danger, especially with COVID, and it's because of the longer incubation period and asymptomatic passengers, right? So this is the gap that we filled, is that time when the passenger are actually most vulnerable and when they need the protection the most.
I hope you liked today's episode. अगले हफ्ते फिर मिलेंगे इसी दिन इसी तरह। नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल।
You are watching Travel